Okay, currently we have an angle, okay, and our x is on its side. Okay, when you're solving for a side, are you using trig or inverse trig? Trig. Okay, so I know that I'm using just regular trig. Okay, what is x in relation to 27? Opposite, and 40 is what? Hypotenuse. Okay, when I have opposite and hypotenuse, which trig function am I using? Sine. Okay, so I have the sine of 27 degrees equals opposite over 40. Okay, how do I solve for x?
27 equals x.
Okay, what do you need to make sure about your calculator? It's in degree mode. So when you did that in your calculator and rounded to the nearest hundredth, what'd you get?
18.1.
Awesome. Questions on that? Okay, number 2. Again, x is on its side, so I should be using trig. Where is x in relation to 50? Adjacent. Where's 33? Or 35, sorry. Hypotenuse. Okay, all of these should be right angles. Okay, hypotenuse, so what happens when you have adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. So cosine of 50 equals, what's the ratio? X over 35. So I have 35 cos 50 equals x. To the nearest hundredth? 22.50. Case 15, I'm solving for a degree, so what do I need to use?
Inverse trig.
Inverse trig. Okay, if I were you, I would get into the habit of labeling which trig I'm using, whether it's just the regular one or inverse, because some of you, like on that last skills check, try to do inverse for the whole skills check, but the last ones were just regular trig. Okay, what is 20 in relation to our angle? Opposite, and 15? Adjacent. So which trig function should I use? Tangent, opposite over adjacent. So I have the tangent of y equals, what's the ratio? 20 over 15. And then how do I rewrite this? What's my equation? Tan inverse of 20 over 15 equals y. Okay, and what did you guys get for the degree?
52.1.
Awesome. Degrees, make sure you have your units. Okay, the last one, number 4, little word problem. A ladder was leaning against a house. The angle that the ladder and ground made was 53 degrees. The length of the ladder was 25. How far away from the house was the bottom of the ladder? Okay, so this is what we're looking for. What do I know? The hypotenuse is 25. And then we know that the angle that the ground meets the ladder is 53. Okay, a lot of people still, for whatever reason, do not know that the ladder is the hypotenuse, and they will try to label the height 25. Okay, so make sure that you know the ladder is always the hypotenuse. It is what is physically leaning against the wall. Okay, so what are we solving for? The side, so we should be using trig, just regular trig. Okay, x is what in relation to 53? Adjacent. And 25 is hypotenuse. Okay, so which trig function should we use?
Cosine.
Cosine. So you have cosine of 53 equals what? So you have 25 cos 53 equals x, which is And then whatever the units is, because we're talking about a distance. Questions on the warm-up? Cliff, put it away. Station, put it away. Alright. The next part is our actual notes. This is probably 80% of your quiz. Okay, these application problems probably make up 80% of your quiz. So you need to pay attention today. This is not a day that you spend on your phone instead of doing the homework problems. Okay, you also have a skills check at the end of today. It's only 3 questions. You miss one, you're at a 67. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you use your class time wisely today and you pay attention to these notes. Okay, it's not hard necessarily. We're just using the same thing that we've been doing. However, now you have to set the problems up yourself based off the words. Okay, so all these word problems are going to pertain to angles of elevation and angles of depression. Okay, an angle of depression is the angle that is below the horizontal that an observer must look to see an object that is lower than the observer. Okay, in short, okay, the angle of depression is always going to be made up of an upside down triangle with the right angle at the top. Okay, an upside down triangle with the right angle at the top. The angle of depression, okay, is the other angle that is off of your horizontal. Okay, so this is your horizontal here. Your angle of depression is here. Okay, it's inside of your triangle starting at the top. Okay? Thanks. I have to go get them cut down because I can't get Ken out of his car seat. I can't, like, press the button. Anyways. Okay, so always, always, always make sure that your angle of depression is drawn with an upside down triangle. Because if you draw the right side up triangle, you're going to be tempted to put the angle of depression right here, and that is not true. Okay, you will get the wrong answer. So depression, you're sad, the triangle's upside down. Okay? So don't draw that one. However, your angle of elevation, okay, elevation, excited, okay, your triangle is right side up with your right angle at the bottom. Okay, and that angle of elevation is down here. It is all, your angles of elevation and depression are always going to be on the same side of your right angle. Okay? So elevation, your right angle's on the bottom. Depression, your right angle's on the top. Okay, and the angle of elevation is an angle that is above the horizontal that an observer must look to see an object that is higher than the observer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the angle of elevation and the angle of depression are actually congruent. And here's why. If you draw a rectangle, mine's terrible. Okay, you know that these lines are parallel, correct? Well, they should be. Okay, these lines are parallel too. If I draw a diagonal, this angle right here would be an angle of depression or elevation? Elevation. This angle would be angle of depression because it's with the upside down triangle. What do we call those angles? Alternate interior angles. Okay, so this would be your transversal across parallel lines, and these would be your alternate interior angles, and that is why they are congruent. Okay, and the reason why I'm telling you guys, if you make the mistake of drawing your angle of depression with this triangle and labeling the angle of depression this one, there's no way that these two are congruent. Unless it's a 45, 45, 90, which is not going to happen. Okay, so there's no way that those two are congruent. So just make sure you flip your triangles. Questions? Okay, so let's practice. Example 1. Raymond is standing in Paris looking up at the Eiffel Tower with a 40-degree angle of elevation. He is 386.12 meters from the tower. How tall is the Eiffel Tower? Okay, I always draw pictures. Here's my Eiffel Tower. Here's Raymond. I know that's not what the Eiffel Tower looks like. It's a building for me for now. Okay, what do I know so far? Okay, before you start looking at that, we have an angle of depression and an angle of elevation. How should I be drawing my right triangle? Right side up. So my right angle should be on the ground. Okay. So I know that he is 386.12 meters away. And what is the angle? 40 degrees. It wants to know how tall the tower is. Okay, do you see how we just set that up? Okay. So, what is x in relation to 40? Opposite. What is 380, this side, in relation? Adjacent. Okay, so when I have opposite and adjacent, what should I be using? Tangent. So I have tangent of 40 equals what? X over 386.12. So I have 386.12 tangent 40 equals x. And if you round to the nearest hundredth, 323.99 meters. If they give you units, you have to include your units or you get points docked. Questions on that one? Okay, so these are the type of problems that your quiz is going to make up. Okay, making sure that you can draw the pictures appropriately and then solve for a side or an angle. Okay, a blimp. What's a blimp? Like a plane thing, right? Okay. It's like a big cylinder-looking thing that flies. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that people know what a blimp is, because you'll see that on a quiz and a test. Okay, guys, regroup. Okay, a blimp is flying over a football game. The pilot sights the stadium at a 7-degree angle of depression. The blimp is flying at an altitude of 400 meters. What is the horizontal distance in meters between the blimp and the stadium? Okay, first thing, we have an angle of depression, so how should I be drawing this triangle? Upside down, so draw it upside down. And then we can put the rest of the little pieces in place. Okay, what's going to be at the top? The blimp. I don't know how to draw it. There you go. Looks like a carrot. That's okay. Being launched. Okay. And then you have what on the ground? Football game. So there's my field goal. Okay, where is my angle going? The top with the blimp. Okay, an altitude of 400 meters. Where's that going? Up and down, right? Okay, and it wants to know the horizontal distance. So is that A or B? A, because that is a horizontal line. Okay, so this is what we are looking for. Okay, so what is A in relation to 7? Adjacent. What is 400? Opposite. So which trig function are we using? Tangent. So I have tangent of 7 equals 400 over x. Ooh, yay. Okay, what's my first step when I have x in the denominator? Multiply both sides by x. You will have to do this on your quiz. Okay, so now those cancel, and I'm left with x tangent of 7 equals 400. Then what? Divide by tan 7. Because now you're trying to get x by itself. So now I have x equals 400 divided by the tangent of 7. Type that into your calculator, round to the nearest hundredth.
3,257.74.
What?
Meters.
Meters. You will need to know how to do this on your skills check too, when x is in a denominator. So those algebra skills are extremely important. Questions on number 2? Okay. Number 3. A surveyor is 980 feet from the base of the world's tallest fountain at Fountain Hills, Arizona. The surveyor's binoculars are 5.5 feet above the ground. The surveyor measures the fountain to be 559 feet high. Calculate the angle of elevation from the binoculars to the fountain to the nearest degree. Okay? We're calculating an angle of elevation. So what kind of triangle? Okay. This is what we're looking for, right? What do we know? How tall is the building? 559 feet is this building. How tall is our person?
5 feet.
Okay, so we know this guy is 5'5". Our building is 559 feet. Oh, I should have drawn that the same length.
The distance from the man to the building is 980.
The distance from the guy from the base of the building is 980. So what do we have to do with this 5.5? Subtract it from what? The building. Okay, so 559 minus 5.5. Okay, why did we have to do that?
Because it included his height.
Because it includes his height. So we're looking from your eyes to the top of the building, not from the floor to the top of the building. So we've got to subtract our height when we refer to the side of the building. Okay, so 553.5, then we have an angle that is unknown, 980 degrees. Okay, so we're done with this guy. Okay, when we're solving for an angle, what are we using? Inverse trig. Okay, 553.5 is what in relation to our angle? Opposite. 980 is? Adjacent. Okay, so what's trig function? Tangent. So we have tangent of theta equals, what's our ratio? Okay, and how do we rewrite that equation? Tan inverse. Very good. And what does theta equal, or our angle? To the nearest degree. Pay attention to what you're rounding to. To the nearest degree. 29. And then make sure you have degrees because you're solving for an angle. Okay, so the trickiest part there is I guarantee people will not subtract the height of the person. You have a surveyor question on your quiz. So make sure you do not forget to subtract the height of the person. Okay, 4. An airplane climbs at an angle of 18 degrees with the ground. Find the ground distance the plane travels as it moves 2,500 meters through the air. Give your answer to the nearest 100 meters. So if it climbs at an angle of 18 degrees with the ground, which kind of angle do you think we have? Elevation. Because you're going up. It's like taking off. Okay, here's my little airplane. Whee! Oh, do y'all want to see that drawing? What's it look like?
I don't know. It looks like a hot dog.
A hot dog with wings? A hot dog with wings?
Like a hot dog bun stuck with hot dog.
Sure, I'm gonna go with airplane, but... Okay, what do we know? What side... First off, which side are we looking for? It says find the ground distance. The bottom, the adjacent side, because this is on the ground. Okay, imagine you're on a track. It's not called a track. What's it called? Runway. There you go. Okay. And then 2,500 meters through the air is going to be what? The hypotenuse. If it would have said like 2,500 meters above the ground, that would be your altitude. But it's 2,500 meters through the air. Okay. What is 2,500 in relation to 18 degrees? And x? Adjacent. So which trig function? Cosine. So I have cosine of 18 equals x over 2,500. So I have 2,500 cos 18 equals x. To the nearest 100 meters. Very good. 2,400 meters. Okay, because you should have got 2,377.6. You go to your hundredths place, look to the right, it's a 7, you round up, and that's how you get that 2,400. Questions on 2, 3, or 4? Okay. 5 is very much like the warm-up. Okay, you lean a ladder that's 6.7 meters long against the wall. It makes an angle of 63 degrees with the level ground. How high up is the top of the ladder? Okay, so you know that it's leaning against a wall. Okay, then you have your ladder. Okay, you know your angle that's with the level ground is 63 degrees. Where's 6.7 going? Hypotenuse. Your ladder is always your hypotenuse. And which side are we looking for? The height. Opposite. Okay, when you have opposite and hypotenuse, what are you using? Sine. So I have the sine of 63 degrees equals x over 6.7. So 6.7 sine 63 equals x. Very good. That's an easy one. You can guarantee there's going to be some ladder questions. Just make sure you know the ladder is the hypotenuse. It is not the height. If you put a ladder straight up against the wall, you're falling over and going to be toast. Unless it's like nailed to the wall. Okay, 6. Your cat is trapped on a tree branch 6.5 meters above the ground. Your ladder is only 6.7 meters long. If you place the ladder's tip on the top branch, what angle will the ladder make with the ground? So if we're talking about the angle with the ground, where are we? Elevation. So that's our unknown. Where's 6.5 going? The altitude. 6.7, because that's your ladder. 6.5 represents, or is what to the angle? Opposite. Okay, so we have opposite and hypotenuse. Which trig function? Sine. So we have sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. How do I rewrite this equation? Very good. 75.97 degrees. Questions? Okay. 7 is the trickiest one. So make sure you pay attention. From the top of a building, 100 feet high, the angles of elevation and depression of the top and bottom of another building are 22 degrees and 36 degrees respectively. What are the height and distances of the second building? So you know this building's how tall? 150. Okay. How did you know that building was 150? And not the other one? Because the angles of elevation and depression, you're not going to have an angle of elevation from the top of this building unless you're looking at birds or something. Okay. So, what degree is this piece? Okay, and what about this piece? Okay. You know this is 90. And this is 90. So we need to figure out two pieces here. We need to figure out this piece and this piece so that we can add them together to figure out the height of that building. Okay, how tall is this piece? 150. Okay, so I'm going to redraw my triangles over here. I have an upside down triangle and a little right side up triangle. Okay? So if I know this is 150, how am I going to figure out this piece? So first we need to figure out this side, right? Okay, so this would be equal in both, and then once we have that piece, then we can use trig again in the little triangle. Okay, so 150 is what in relation to 36? And this common side y is adjacent. Okay, so which trig function? Tangent. So I have the tangent of 36 degrees, sorry, equals 150 over x. How do I get x out of the denominator? Multiply x on both sides. So I have x tan 36 equals 150. Then how? Divide by tan 36. So I have x equals 150 divided by tan 36. Let's go to the nearest tenth. Okay, so we know this is 206.5, which makes this 206.5. Okay, so now we're working with our little triangle. X represents opposite. 206.5 represents adjacent. Opposite over adjacent, tangent. So tangent of 22 equals x over 206.5 multiply x equals 233.4 meters. Okay, so now you know this piece is 233.4. So if we want to find the height and distance of the second building, the distance is what?
That's the complete answer.
Oh, okay. This is 83.4. Cool. And then together for the height is what? Very good. The distance between the buildings is what's the distance between the buildings? 206.5. So you could see a problem like that as well, a little bit more involved. Yes.
How did you know which two angles were the elevation and depression again?
Because elevation and depression, and then it says respectively, so it goes in the same order. So like elevation came first, then depression.
Like looking at the picture, how do you know it's not one of the other two angles?
Well, remember your depression always has to be in the upside down triangle.
Okay.
It can't be here. It has to be a part of the upside down triangle, and then your elevation has to be in a right side up triangle.
Okay, and you don't ever like shift the direction of the triangle facing?
Right. So like had you put, say, 22 degrees here, well, you know that these are alternate interiors, so they would have to be congruent, so you know you've misplaced it.
Okay.
Questions? Okay. I'm going to come around with your homework. Okay, it's I think 9 problems.